Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to another car review, and today we're in a 2008 Honda S2000. This particular one is the CR model. It also has a freaking loud exhaust, but we'll get to that later. And the CR stands for Club Racer, and that was essentially the lightest version of the car that you could get towards the end of the model years when the car went away. It's kind of like the swan song of the S2000, if you will. So this is the AP2 version. The AP1 is of course the first generation. The AP2 got the 2.2 liter inline 4 and the AP1 got the 2 liter inline 4. Horsepower figure is the same for the United States, 237 horsepower, and this one is making 162 pound-feet of torque. This one also doesn't rev as high, so the power comes in a little bit earlier than the 2 liter one, and that's probably the reason why they did it, just to give it a little bit of extra oomph in the lower RPMs. But even though I said it doesn't rev as high, this one still revs out to 8 grand, whereas the 2 liter did 8.8 grand. Let's get on these brakes here. Oh, that's pretty nice, pretty solid. Also has stainless steel brake lines, so the pedal feel is nice and firm. That is lots of fun here. Now you might have noticed a little bit from that acceleration run right there. This car is not stock. This one has a supercharger on it, and LHT Performance in Florida put it on. Now the owner lives in Texas. He actually wanted to ship his car over to Florida to have them work on it, but his shipper hosed him, so he had to drive this. Now, this road is pretty nice, pretty level, don't have a lot of bumps on it, so not really a big problem there, but the suspension on this gets a workout when you go over rough surfaces, because this is essentially a track car from factory, so it wasn't really that comfortable. So I got major props for the owner, Keith, to drive this car all the way over to Florida to have them work on it. The CR is also different from a regular S2000 in a couple of other ways, and that is it does not have a soft top. This has a hard top with it, and in the back over here behind the rear seats you have a fiberglass cover that really flows well with the body line. That's one of the things that I really love about this car, that when you take the top down, it still looks freaking awesome. So the CR also comes with a different wing and also an aero package in the front. It has a front splitter that gives it a little bit more downforce than the stock version of the car as well. Now, here comes the exhaust. If I'm driving 54 miles an hour, I'm completely fine. If I'm driving 58 miles an hour, it becomes a huge nuisance. The owner actually drove this back with a set of headphones, and I don't know if you can actually hear me talk right now, but it's definitely a loud car at that point. And there came the suspension in play. You hit something, even minute, it's gonna let you know. This thing pulls so nicely. Goodness. And these wonderful brakes too. This is a track monster if you take this on the track. I just love the way this thing pulls. It puts you in your seat, and it puts you in your seat so gradually that, man, it's just hard to translate unless you drive this car yourself. And I love the pedal feel on this. And this is of course not full Monty, but you know that this car will slow down properly if you get on this pedal. Oh goodness, guys, this is like a completely linear torque curve. It's like a naturally aspirated car, the way this car pulls. It's not like all of a sudden the power comes on. No, this is consistent all the way. I freaking love this thing. Now let's slow down here for a little bit so I can talk about the things that I really also like about this compared to its competitor, which I don't think is a competitor at all, and that's the Miata. The way this car looks, I've always loved the styling of this. This is like the more hardcore version. If you actually have to make a comparison, what the Evo is to the WRX is what this is to the Miata. This is just more hardcore. If you want to have compromises on your daily drivability, but you want more power, you're gonna go with the S2000. Now, of course, I'm gonna be completely jaded. Talk about horsepower figures. Of course, this is way more powerful than stock. This is making 430 wheel horsepower and 270 wheel torque. So you have a ton of power in a car that weighs, wait for it, 2,800 pounds. Thereabouts. Another thing that I love about this car is the steering. It's super direct and it just changes direction the way you want it to. You know, it doesn't do anything unexpected. Like my Mustang is super vague. This, none of that. It goes where you want it, and that I love. And even if you just want to go gingerly but with purpose, this car is completely fine. So if you look at the front end of this car, you see just a little bit of Corvette in there, at least in my opinion, and I love that because it has like these mean looking eyes that are staring at you. If you look at that in the mirror, you go like, yes, although it's less beefy because the Corvette is of course a way bigger car than this. If you look at the back end, always like the styling with this wing. Some probably don't like because the wing's too big, but for me it's like, yes, because it sets it apart from all the other cars. The exhaust tips on this, still stock. Of course it has a full exhaust. It also has skunk 2 headers, which is part of the reason why it's so freaking loud in this car right now. But it still has a stock appearance. So someone's gonna look at this car and go, huh, that's a stock S2000. So no 100 grand under the hood. This is going to be completely fun. I can beat this in my Mustang, and then the hammer goes down and bye-bye Mustang, because this thing pulls like a freaking freight train if you can get on it. Of course, it's still peaky. You have the lion's share of the power all in the top, but that's S2000. That's what this car is all about, having all that power. But you now also have torque to move this car along. It's no longer as peaky as it would be if it was a stock car. Although, like previously mentioned, I haven't driven a stock car. I hope to do that and then make the comparison, and I'll probably say, yeah, you really do need to go take this to LHT Performance up in Florida, put that supercharger kit on there, because it's solid. Owners had 0 problems. Honda reliability, freaking on point here. But yeah, you're gonna need that extra power to get this amount of fun out of it, I think. And also, I see a ton of the S2000s with the big bore exhausts. Still an S2000, but I don't really like it as much. The way that this car looks is just, it's perfect like this. It's not flamboyant at all. Well, okay, it's yellow. I guess it is flamboyant, but it's just perfect to me. Have a stock car, stock looking, go like that. Now we go over the interior styling. I love this RPM meter. It just moves up. This feels really like a cockpit digital speedo. I really like the old analog stuff, if I'm completely honest, but for this car it just works. Now, interior size, it's not as cramped as I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be way smaller than that. Okay, my legs don't have a lot of room in here. I'm 5'11", not the tallest guy, but still. Another thing in the interior, which is coming back pretty much everywhere, including the shift knob, is the yellow stitching or the yellow accents that the car has. Also, interestingly enough, that comes back in every single color you spec out. So if you spec out a white one, you got yellow stitching. You spec out the blue one, you got yellow stitching. So the owner was like, that doesn't make any sense. He found this yellow one. Yellow wasn't his favorite color, but with the yellow stitching, it works out perfectly. These seats, also unique to the CR, give you plenty of side support. You have more side bolstering than the stock car as well. And I just love these. These sit so nicely. You also have Alcantara come back everywhere. You got it in the shift boot. You got it on the sides over here. It is freaking amazing. And of course, the most important part to have it is your seating position. I just love the way this pulls. This is amazing. everything properly. This is just the perfect car. You know, I say it probably a lot when I'm reviewing cars. I really dislike reviewing cars because it wants me to get certain cars, and this Honda S2000 is going to be firmly on the list. It wasn't really, because it's kind of a smaller car, more of a big kind of GT car kind of guy. But man, the way that it's built like this one, it is perfect. This is great in every way. Talk about the stuff that I really like. That's just beautiful. More partial to the second generation, but there's nothing wrong with a nice Gen 1 Camaro right there. Now, another thing that I have to talk about when it comes down to the S2000 is that I consider this the last of that awesome era, you know, the era where they had the MR2, the Supra, the original Honda NSX. This kind of shut the door on that. It's going to go down in history as also being one of the first consumer cars to break 100 horsepower per liter, and that is amazing. Now, as far as the conclusion on this car, I just don't think you can go any better than this when it comes down to a convertible with tons of power and tons of handling capability. I freaking love this car. Makes me want one, like I said previously. And there's just nothing else left to say other than letting the car speak for itself. Enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks so much, Keith. I enjoyed it immensely. Done? This guy's coming out. I'll just slow down. Hear me say, I'm just slowing down to let this guy pass so we stay out of the drone zone. Oh, talk about the competition.
See him look over? He looked over.
Yeah, of course he did. This is the car he really wanted.
That's right.
Because that's another thing. WRX less expensive than the Evo. It's the perfect comparison right there. Yeah, I looked for S2000s and I'm like, 12 grand, not bad. But then another 12 grand for the Supercharged. There you go, host. Take this one a little bit. Oh man, this thing corners like it is on rails.
Angry.
But that's the only thing, you know, if you continue to bitch about the same thing, then you got nothing else to bitch about. So it's like, okay, car is solid, except for the exhaust, but hey, you know what? Stop your bitching. You can't have a complete 100% person. You can't have a complete 100% perfect car. That's just an impossibility right there.
And I can swap it out and lose a little bit of power, you know. And
lose power? Are you nuts?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No. The fact that this just looks like a stock car. It's a stock car. Oh, we have 0 bars left.
All right. Perfect time.
That would have been a first, running out of gas. Don't say anything until you are at the gas pump, guy.
Don't jinx us.
Don't do it, please. Turn it off with the key.
Yeah.
I remembered.
All right. You the man.
Am I still in gear, or does this just not?
You push in and then turn.
The Japanese car thing. Of course, like I do in every review, RPM at 60. We're at about 3,200 RPM plus a lot of drone.